Greetings, rock fans. This is Peter's Go for Music as a Journey. Today I'm going to do something that I have only done once before on this channel, and that is to rate the albums of a band's studio catalog based on my own opinion. I really hate to do it because I just find it so difficult to do. I would rather watch a bunch of other people's rankings or read about a bunch of other rankings and find what the average is than present that and give some of my own opinions along the way. In fact, I would just rather talk about each album one by one and say what it is I like about it and what it is I don't like about it. However, after I did the one for Led Zeppelin, somebody commented that they actually really appreciated my ranking because I gave my perspective. And I guess that's the thing. That's why I like to watch other people's ranking videos, because I like to hear what they think of the albums and how they rank them. So even if there's an album that I really like that they rank low, or an album I don't care for that they rank highly, it doesn't matter. Like, I just enjoy it. So maybe it might be of some interest to other people to watch me do my own. So the reason why I'm picking April Wine is, of course, because I just did the first 10 albums of April Wine video not that long ago. I think it was in September. And since then, of course, I listened to the first 10 albums again. But since then, there were some of the later releases I didn't have. And I started snooping around and picking them up. And I think it's a big thanks to a channel called Grant's Rock Warehouse. It might actually be more than that because he has also some other things. But anyway, Grant's Rock Warehouse. Grant, recently, maybe not recently, but like about a year ago, he and some of his friends online, whatever, they went through all of the studio albums of April Wine. Sometimes there were 4 people, sometimes 5, sometimes 6. But they went through each of the albums. In some videos they did 2 albums and some only 1. But they all shared their opinions about what they liked or what they didn't like about it, as well as some background information if they had any. And then at the end of it all, they had four people together doing a ranking of all 16 albums, which I thought was really cool, actually. I normally wouldn't have watched so much, but I was really interested in April Wine at the time. And I guess that encouraged me to pick up the albums I didn't have, especially since I was actually able to get them. And in the end, there was one album I thought, I listened to it on YouTube and I thought, no, I really don't need to get that because I'm not going to like it. But in the end, availability seemed to be limited to maybe only 1. After that, the price was going to go up if I bought it from somewhere else. And I ended up buying it anyway, and then finding that I liked it better than I thought. So, because I've been listening to April Wine so much recently, I actually found that I like songs on all the albums. Basically, I like all the albums, just some I have more criticisms about than others. So based on that, I'm going to try to do my own ranking. Again, it's really difficult because I find right now I'm kind of preferring the last 5 albums a lot to listen to. Whereas, you know, a couple of weeks back, I was listening more to the 70s stuff, particularly late 70s, early 80s. So, yeah. Okay, that's getting to be a long intro. So a couple of other things I need to mention. One, in the first 10 albums of April Wine video that I did, I said that April Wine sent a letter to Aquarius Records in Montreal and got a rejection letter, but a polite one, and they misunderstood it and came out to Montreal because of Aquarius Records. That was actually incorrect. They sent letters out to clubs in Montreal. They were still based in Halifax at the time. They sent letters to Montreal, clubs in Montreal, and one club gave them a very polite rejection letter, which they misunderstood, and they packed up and went out to Montreal to go to play at that club, and the club decided to give them a chance anyway. And then I think it was at that club where they met 2 guys, and either those 2 guys were the ones who were going to manage the band, or those 2 guys knew somebody in Aquarius Records. Whatever it was, by taking that chance and getting to play at that club, they ended up meeting the people that ended up getting them a record through Aquarius Records, their debut in 1971. Okay, and I think there was one other thing I had to mention. Yeah, don't remember. It's probably going to come to me like at the end after I turn off the camera. So anyway, let's get going. Let's get going here. I like all the albums. I like songs on all the albums. And just right now, I'm really into April Wine. I suppose If you were to ask me like 2-3 months later, I might have very different opinions, because after all the dust has settled, which of the songs I still enjoy hearing. Like right now, I'm pretty much open to hear just about anything. So here we go. I'm going to start off number 16, 16 albums. So number 16 is, roughly speaking, I think it was 2006. This remains the band's last final studio recording release. Two big criticisms about it. One is it's really short. It's something like 24 minutes long. 8 songs. The last one is just barely over a minute. And yeah, it would have been nice to have had it a little bit longer. The other criticism is that it is much more bluesy than anything they've done previously. It seems that previously they might have been a hard rock band that dabbled a bit in blues. Here it's the other way around. There's much more blues on here, and the rock part is kind of scaled back. So what's curious is that, like, this was the last output by the band in 2006, and later on Miles Goodwin released an album or 2 albums of blues. So it makes you wonder, like, was the band going to go in that direction, and then there was a gap, and then Miles just continued that way? Or was this going to be a kind of a detour, and then they were going to continue? Was this, for example, like Rush's Feedback album, where after they get back together and release a great album, they then go and do that 6-track Feedback one where it was all cover songs, which, you know, I like it, but it's just kind of puzzling. So was that what this was supposed to be? And then 4 years after this, Jim Clench, bass player on here, passed away. And that maybe just, you know, threw everything into a hole. And after that, no new recordings from April Wine. Recently, Miles Goodwin has said that he's even just stepping out of the band completely. Before it was stepping away from live performances. Now it's stepping away from writing as well. So who knows? But anyway, the two big criticisms then, I guess, is that the final album of the band just seems like the band is either making a detour or heading in a new direction, and we never find out what happened. But actually, I like a few of the songs on here. I mean, they're all good. They're very good. It's just I'm not so much into a kind of traditional blues type of guy, you know? So anyway, the songs I like, I think Sheila. Sheila is a little bit more of a typical type of April Wine song. There's Life Goes On. I really liked that one, especially just before the Life Goes On line, because he had the bass drum going boom, 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 life goes on, like that. And there's one song in here, I Am, sounds like it's supposed to be a garage rock type song where the volume is really cranked, and the whole loudness war thing sounds like it's being reflected in that song, although I think it's not meant to be a loudness war, you know, clipped type of thing, but it's actually meant to be like a garage band who are just, you know, blasting out their songs and putting the needles into the red. But I think it comes off sounding like a loudness war casualty. But anyway, still, it's a pretty good song. It's a pretty decent album. It's just, again, very short and really puzzling. Yeah. Okay, so the next one is number 15, Forever for Now, which came out in 1976. 77? Well, it just says 2000 on the back here, 2000 at Unidisc. Anyway, 76 or 77. I think maybe 77. So this one here, this is a curious one because this was the one that originally the songs were written as a Miles Goodwin solo album, and the record company said, you can't be doing a solo album now. April Wine is really hot. You've got to make it into an April Wine album. And so they did. But there's actually only, I think there are 2, possibly 3 songs on here that really sound like an April Wine song. The opening track, title track, Forever for Now, sounds like a kind of medium, slightly melodic, medium tempo melodic April Wine track. Does kind of remind me of slower mid-70s Rush or even Triumph in a little bit of a way. There's a song called Hollywood, which has a more upbeat moving thing to get you out of your seats. That's a good one. It's not hard rock, but it's a good fun song. And then the last track, Marjorie, which is a kind of a typical April Wine ballad type of a song. The rest of the album is just a collection of a variety of different things. And I think the second track, Child's Garden, a lot has been said about that. At first I thought, oh, it's just another ballad, you know, but actually when Miles was a child, his mother passed away and his father had to raise him and his siblings by himself. And Miles was not a good kid. He was a naughty little boy. And so this song, Child's Garden, he's saying like, I thought you should know that I always loved you and always appreciated you. And I'm sorry for being the bastard kid that I was. So knowing that just makes me warm up to the song that much more, because it's not just a typical lovesick ballad. And it is actually a very good tune. The main criticism I have of this, you can kind of smell it coming, is that my analogy is that this is like you want to take your car out on the expressway. All right, in Japan, we've got these expressways. You pay through for a toll booth, and then you just cruise at like 100, 120 kilometers per hour. In most cases, sometimes 80. Anyway, and then you pay to get through another toll booth and go off again. So you can cover a lot of long distances because you just sail away along, right, like a highway. But they do have these parking areas, or highway oases as they call them, where you pull in. There's a huge parking lot, there's souvenir shops, there's a food court, washrooms, whatever, dog run, all this kind of stuff. And it feels to me like this album, the first song is we're getting on the ramp and heading out onto the expressway, we're getting up to speed, and then soon, before we even get up to 100 kilometers per hour, we're into a highway oasis, parking area. And we're enjoying some food, whatever, some, I don't know, ramen, noodles, something like that, curry rice, whatever. And then we're getting on the ramp to go back out onto the expressway, but instead of getting on the expressway, we go back into another parking area. And except for Hollywood, I think that's where we actually finally do get onto the expressway and start moving around a bit. After that, we're just going from parking area to parking area all the way through to the end of the album, and we never get up to speed. And that's the thing. Like, April Wine is a hard rock band. Most of the songs on their albums are, kickers. And this one, we only get kicking a little bit, and then after that, we're making all these pit stops. Each one is different. There's a variety of music on here, so in that way, it's good. One person on Grant's Rock Warehouse said that he was ranking all the albums by grading the songs out of 3, 4, or 5 points, and then doing the average. And he said this one got artificially highly ranked because he actually liked most of the songs. So this is the curious thing, right? Like, a lot of the songs actually on their own are really good. It's just as an April Wine album, it doesn't really seem to work. I think if you picked 2 or 3 and put them in with 7 other typical April Wine rock type songs, and a nice April Wine ballad, you would have a normal April Wine album. So this is like a collection of oddities, like, outtakes that never made it on because they were just too different kind of thing. But lots of good songs, just, yeah, it doesn't really feel like a proper April Wine album. Okay, after this, the ranking is really hard to do because I just found myself enjoying a lot of the songs on each of the albums. So from here on in, even though the next album is number 14, I actually quite like it. So here we go. Number 14 is Frigate, which I believe was released in 1994. This came out just a year after Attitude, which we'll get to a little bit later on. The sound is quite different from Attitude. Within just a year, they went back to sounding like April Wine. We'll get to Attitude, okay? It starts off with a nice, what is it here? This, Look Into the Sun, which is a kind of slower, mid-tempo, kind of heavy song with even like Don't Shed Your Darkness on Me, and then boom, like a kind of heavy riff that grows up to a lighter one. It's a pretty cool, heavy, dark feeling song with little splashes of light here and there. The next one after that, Just Wanna Make Love To You, is a cover song. Sounds like a kind of ZZ Top thing, although I don't remember who originally did it. But it's done well. I mean, if you like that kind of thing, it's a fun song. If I Was a Stranger is one of the ballad tracks, and it's pretty good. It's not up there with some of the big classics, but it's pretty good. Let's see here. Tonight Is a Wonderful Time to Fall in Love. This is a curiosity because this is one of their old classic tracks from the 1970s, and it's redone here, and it's done quite differently. It starts off very peacefully with just the 3 chords. There's only 3 chords in the song. The 3 chords being picked out note by note rather than like bar chord type things. And it's really gentle. And then it goes into the more harder rocking sound song that we're more familiar with. A lot of people have said, I don't know why they covered their own song. But one thing that people have said about April Wine a lot is that when they do a cover, they actually change it quite a bit and make it their own song. So it's kind of curious. They covered one of their own songs, but they did it in a different way. They didn't just like update it. They did it in a different way, which is kind of cool. And I actually don't mind, because I feel like this might be a version that they would play in the 90s live, rather than just keep repeating the one from the 70s over and over again. And it kind of reminds me of the Rolling Stones' I Can't Get No Satisfaction. You know, the original one is pretty much, you know, guitars, drums, vocals type song. And I remember seeing a live version of it where they had backup, female backup vocalists, and they had brass, and they made it into this big production thing. So, you know, here April Wine have done something different with one of their own songs. A lot of people said it didn't need to be done, but actually I don't mind. I love the song anyway, and it's kind of neat to hear it done in a different way by the same band. Yeah, the rest of the album, there are some, I like Nothing But a Kiss. It's a kind of fun rock song. I'm a Man is the Steve Winwood one that Chicago covered. This one starts off sounding totally different, and it's not until the words come in that you actually realize they're singing I'm a Man, but they've done it in a really different way. I think they, you know, I prefer the Chicago version, but anyway, whatever it takes. Let's see here. Driving with My Eyes Closed. That's a really cool one, because it starts off with this strummed guitar and has this like smooth bluesy guitar. You know, the type where it's just like this. There's kind of like little bursts coming in, or some notes. It's really cool. But then just before the chorus, it's like snare, 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 hard rock guitar, driving all night with my eyes closed. So it's really actually cool like that. But it gets weird near the end. I think Hard to Believe is another one of those ballad types. Then we get to, what is it? Keep on Rockin', which is a kind of 50s bouncy piano rock type tune, which is, it's okay. And then, what's it called here? Mind Over Matter, which is just like not an April Wine song. Not at all. It sounds like a completely different recording artist has dropped a track on here. I don't mind in a way, because it's kind of cool when April Wine do something really different, and they have done so on previous albums, so it's not like totally out of the blue. But most people will say, why did they end the album with that song? Why did they even put that song on here? So in a way, what makes this album down on the list is just that there are some curious picks. Like, why did they cover their own song? Why did they do that I'm a Man one in such a different way, which doesn't sound like better in any way? And why did they put that strange song on at the end? But still, I'd say at least half the album has some really cool tracks. Okay, Frigate. I am trying to talk as fast as I can. So here's the debut album. What is that now? 16, 15, 14, 13. I quite like it, although honestly, I really like it because of 3 or 4 tracks. There are 2 tracks on here that I really don't care for. There are 2 tracks on here that I think are kind of interesting and okay. The ones that really do it for me are page 5, Fast Train and Listen Mister. I like those best, and the one Wench is kind of interesting because, as I said, sounds like a War Pig type song. Some people have said it sounds like a Led Zeppelin type song. I don't quite think so, but, you know, that's a different opinion. This is the debut from 71. You have Dave and Rich Henman, brothers, and cousin Jim. This is an album with 3 lead vocalists, 3 songwriters, and quite a variety of, you know, acoustic folky type tracks. Miles is more like, you know, Fast Train, typical hard rock type tracks. And then you've got Dave Henman's more like psychedelic, almost quasi-prog type, meandering type tracks. So it's an interesting mix, and I said in my other video that I wouldn't be surprised if there's someone out there who likes this album best out of all of them. And one guy in that Grant's Rock Warehouse series, one guy talking about this album actually did say he liked it best out of all the ones he'd heard so far. So there you go. All right. So, stepping up now. This one here, this baby, I thought I'd smack on the bottom right away, but actually I started listening to it. Okay, first I listened to it on YouTube and thought, no way, I am not getting that. It's just, you know, it reeks of 1985. There's no way I'm getting this. But I ended up getting it. And then I heard the first track, Rock Myself to Sleep, and it was just, oh, what happened to April Wine? I mean, what is this? This is just party, you know, drunk teenager type party rock thing, you know. But actually, it was written by 2 of the members of Katrina and the Waves. But after listening to it a second time, I thought, yeah, And then the third time I found I was kind of tapping my feet and singing along to it. There are actually quite a few really good songs on here, especially Anejo, I guess it is, Aneo. It's my favorite one. Open Soul Surgery is a cover of a Prism song from the debut album. If you don't know who Prism is, I'm on a spaceship superstar. That's them. So this is a cover of one of their songs, and it's probably the best and most April Wine sounding song on the album. I think that there's actually a lot of really good songs on here. The two big stinking points are the 80s production, mid-80s, 1985, right? The 1985 keyboards are all over the place, and the drumming is pretty damn dull, especially the opening track. It's just boom, cha, boom, cha, boom, cha, boom, cha. Until you get to the chorus, then it's boom, cha, boom, boom, cha, boom, cha, boom, boom, cha. That's it. As the song is fading out, we finally get a like boom, cha, boom, cha, boom, cha, cha, boom, cha. That's it. Even when you expect there should be a cymbal crash, there isn't any. Just the keyboards come in instead. So pretty damn dull. But again, there are actually some songs on here I find interesting. The one, You Don't Have to Act That Way, I actually quite like it. But there are these really 1985 keyboards that come in, and there's one part where instead of a guitar solo, they have a kind of Muzak type keyboard solo, and Muzak, like in the supermarket Muzak. It's like, attention, clean up in aisle 7, a customer has vomited on the floor, that kind of thing. So there are a lot of like, I basically feel like you're having, okay, imagine this, like you've got a car, and it's a really comfortable car to drive in. The engine's good, it's quite nice, but the car is like sparkly pink paint with like fuzzy pink dingle balls all around and everything. And it's like, it's a good car to drive, it's comfortable, but this pink crap is an eyesore. So it's something like that anyway. Yeah, there's like the ballad on here, Love Has Remembered Me, really sounds like a 1985 rock ballad. The chorus, though, is infectious. You got to give them that. And then they have, is that a saxophone solo? No, it isn't. It is a keyboard saxophone solo. It is a keyboard trying to sound like a saxophone. I mean, there are saxophone players. Come on. And here's the thing. You've got Miles Goodwin and Brian Greenway, the only two April Wine members who are on this here. The rest are all session musicians because the band had broken up. This was a contractual obligation album. But you've got two guys who are really great lead guitarists, and you have almost no lead guitar work on here. Instead, you have a lot of synthesizer solos. Saxophone synthesizer, trumpet synthesizer. The only song where I feel it actually kind of works in is that Aneo, where the instrumental section is one keyboard hitting lower notes, you know, with a little bit of a bzz to them, which sounds kind of cool. And the other synthesizer sound is these kind of like eerie things. And there are these background effects like a rattle shaking or some drums going brum bum bum and different things. So that song actually has a really cool atmosphere to it. But anyway, I actually, depending on my mood, quite like the album. But as I said, I do have to place them somewhere, and I was gonna place it on the bottom, but yeah, is it really better than these other ones? Ask me again in 2 months. Now I gotta say, Walking Through Fire 1985, it is not so bad to me because it reminds me of two other 1985 albums that one I actually like. It is Blue Oyster Cult's Club Ninja, which is usually the lowest ranked Blue Oyster Cult album. But as I've said, I actually kind of like it. It was my second BOC album to get. And another one is Night Ranger's 7 Wishes. I had the first 4 Night Ranger albums on cassette. And in recent years, I've been thinking, I wonder if I should get 7 Wishes, which is kind of it's the 1985 most 85 smelling album out of all of the ones they have, but for some reason that one has left an impression on me, and I don't know if I'll buy it or not, but I've been thinking about it. So in a way, this album kind of fits into those others, you know, each band doing their own thing, but the overall sound is similar. And you know what? It was Uriah Heep's Equator, which is also 1985, that I absolutely refused to get because I couldn't stand the sound of it. But maybe if I bought it, I might like it. let's not go there. Okay, so we go up to, what is it? Animal Grace from 1984 is the next one. Where are we at now anyway? I don't know. We're somewhere down the line here. It looks like this should be 11, I guess. The reason why I'm putting it a bit higher than Walking Through Fire is just because it's the band April Wine. It's not, you know, just two of the members and session musicians. And I really like most of the songs on the album. The one thing I don't like about it is the overall production sound. I feel that they tried to make it into a more pop album emphasizing vocals, drums, and keyboards. So even though they've got the hard rock guitars going, I feel that they've been scaled back in the mix. So you can hear there's distortion, but you don't feel it. Sometimes it's more like the guitars are just almost like a background sound giving you the notes, but you don't really feel the guitars. So maybe Hard Rock Kid, they do actually bring it up a little bit. The opening track, This Could Be the Right One, is such a damn infectious song. You know, I remember hearing it on, you know, music video television when I was a teen. And even though I didn't get any April Wine albums until the 1990s, and then only one, and the rest of them I got within the last several years, I could always remember the chorus to that song. It was such a catchy one. And right now, that song's been going through my head for like the last 2 hours, so super catchy. Sons of the Pioneers is the other really big, cool, awesome song on here. And actually, I think out of the, 7, 8, 9 tracks, I think 6 or 7 of them I quite like. And the other 2 are okay, just the lyrics are a bit cheesy. We do get lots of keyboards on here. We do get that 80s production sound, but we've got Jerry Mercer on drums, who is a lot more interesting than what's on the other album. For example, the other album we had boom cha, boom cha, boom cha. Here we've got boom cha, boom cha, boom cha, brum bum 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 boom cha, like this. Like there's just stuff going on like a drummer should do, and it's lacking on the other album, Walking Through Fire. I don't know if they just told the drummer, don't do anything interesting because it's 1985, I don't know. But yeah, overall, this is a pretty darn cool album. Give Me That Thing Called Love, silly title, silly lyrics, but actually a pretty cool song. Yeah, I quite like it. Just wish the sound was a little bit better. Okay, does that bring us up to the top 10? Perhaps it does. So let's go to the 2001's Back to the Mansion. I got this a few years back. I didn't really listen to it so much then, but now I've been giving it an ear and actually find quite a lot of really cool songs on here. Holiday is probably the one that just everybody I saw on those Grant's Rock Warehouse, everybody's picking Holiday as the track. And it's actually a Brian Greenway track, so that's really cool. Really just great, you know, full, nice feeling song with great vocals and melody and some cool guitar parts. The opening track, Won't Go There, is a little bit more of a rock style, mellow rock style, rather than hard rock style, but it's a catchy, decent track. Talk to Me is also a pretty cool one. This one here, there's more of a feel of a rock band with blues guitar lead rather than a hard rock band, but I'll give you that, I think. And Looking for a Place We've Never Been, they do have more of that crunchy guitar sound in them in parts, and Looking for a Place We've Never Been starts off kind of like, oh, I wonder what this song's going to be. Doesn't sound all that interesting. Then gets a little more interesting, and then when they get to the chorus, it's just, wow, that's, you know, legendary band, legend band, April Wine, still doing really well. Falling Down is weird because you've got the contrast with the more melodic April Wine sound, and then just a really harsh sound with the, you know, distorted vocals, kind of contrasting two sides. That's really cool. The final track is I Am a Rock, cover of the Paul Simon song, and actually I quite like it. So yeah, recently going back to this album, listening to it more, I almost put it under Frigate, but now I've moved it above Frigate. So yeah, and Grant from Grant Rock's Warehouse really loved this album, so that's cool. Hard to get though. Okay, so that brings us up to On Record, the second album from 1972. That is the second album released in 1972. This is a mixed one. Again, we've got Miles Goodwin taking over more songwriting. However, the introduction of April Wine doing cover songs. They didn't have that on the debut album. Here they do Could Have Been a Lady by Hot Chocolate and Bad Side of the Moon by Elton John and Bernie Taupin. You've also got Jim Clench coming in here, taking over for Jim Henman. Jim Clench is singing on one song, the very last one, and then you've got Dave Henman also singing on a track or two. So again, 3 songwriters, three lead vocalists. Miles Goodwin doing most of the songwriting, but some covers and like that. So it is quite a collection of different styles and sounds, sometimes more kind of, heavy blues-based rock, some kind of more like, boogie rock, sometimes more acoustic tunes, kind of more anthemic rock type songs. It's quite a variety of stuff. I don't love everything on here, but yeah, it's cool. One thing that was pointed out was that after the band had recorded everything, I think it was their producer or somebody, went in and put at the end of every track, after the track had faded out, faded in this sound, which was a combination of organ and piano, just kind of like swirling sounds, which then fade out again. And the band were not aware of this, and I think I read that they didn't like it. And honestly, I found it kind of irritating because you'd hear the song, it would finish, and then you get this 10 seconds of what the heck is going on. But one person said it does give the experience of listening to an album. It kind of like ties the songs together by having this similar mood between them. So maybe it's almost like you're sleeping and kind of waking up a little bit and then going off to sleep again. I don't know. But anyway, maybe, you can look at it like that and appreciate it more. Anyway, very good album, but still older, so it's still not quite the April Wine feeling yet, but actually I appreciate it. Okay, next, I don't know where we're at now. Is this number 8? Perhaps. April Wine's Power Play from, I think it's 1982. This one has some really great rock songs on, still featuring the classic lineup, still featuring a lot of hard rock, of course, the typical ballad on here. We've got a cover song. What is the cover song on here? I forget what it is now. Just a minute. It's by the Powder Blues Band, which was a Vancouver band. As a matter of fact, Prism is also a Vancouver band. So it seems that at one point they started, in the 80s, they started covering Vancouver bands. Anyway, yeah, it is overall a pretty good album. Oh, they also cover the Beatles on here. Why Do You Lie? Which, it's alright. It is a good album, but I think after the rise of the previous 3 or 4 albums, it does feel like a slight step down. But still some really great killer songs on here. We are moving into 1982 territory though, so the overall style of the rock world is starting to change a bit. Next up, their, 5th album, The Whole World's Going Crazy from 1976. A lot of really cool songs on here. So Bad is a really groovy one with Frank Marino of Mahogany Rush playing on here. Wings of Love, I've talked about that previously in 2 videos. Probably my favorite April Wine ballad because it contrasts the more peaceful, slower side with the more hard rock side, as well as you have the guest female vocalist and the guest player on the onde martenot instrument, which is really cool. Couple of songs like Rock and Roll Women, Gimme Love, and Shot Down are more just typical 70s rock songs. I don't feel that they are really standout tracks, although other people do. Like a Lover, Like a Song is probably the first of the Miles Goodwin ballads that sounds similar, in a kind of similar power ballad type way to a lot of the other classics that he came up with in later years. So it's like that, they've reached that point, or he reached that point where he was doing that kind of thing. A couple of songs on here like Kick Willie Road, I didn't really care for it before. I listened to it earlier this evening and actually found it was pretty good. Never cared all that much for the title track, Whole World's Going Crazy. I think it's the chipmunk vocals that come in near the end that spoil it for me. But yeah, there are songs on here I quite like and songs I don't like as much. This is the Canadian edition, which means we have We Can Be More Than We Are, the interesting, funky instrumental track, which reminds me a lot of that Coronaris Redig or something like that, a bonus track on the Deep Purple Burn album, which, yeah, was pretty groovy. The American one, they didn't have that, and they put 2 of the songs from Forever For Now, both of them ballads, so this sounds like a really ballad-heavy album if you have the American edition. And what was it here, Like a Lover, Like a Song? This is the 5-minute 12-second version. The original version was over 6 minutes long, but that was only on the initial release. They then cut off over a minute of music, and I think everything after that has been that shorter version. So maybe a kind of rarity to get a hold of that. We're up now, top 6. All right, so next up, Stand Back. This is the very first album I ever bought of theirs back in the 90s. I bought it for Tonight Is a Wonderful Time to Fall in Love, and was pleasantly surprised to hear Come Hear the Band, which I've always loved that song, with the kind of cross with the kind of 50s ballad style with the, you know, finger snaps, but then this beautiful dual guitar. We've got Ooh What a Night, Jim Clench singing on that one of their classic songs. Don't Push Me Around, good rocker. Victim of Your Love, great guitar sound for that one there. Baby Done Got Some Soul is a Jim Clench song, which just is like, you know, like soul funk or something, which really doesn't sound like April Wine. But anyway, there it is. Wouldn't Want to Lose Your Love. Well, okay, maybe that was the first of the real classic ballads, I guess. Highway Hard Run, Hard Rocker, Not For You, Not For Rock and Roll, really good rocker. Wouldn't Want Your Love Any Other Way, nice kind of fun one. So a lot of really good songs on this track, and their fourth album, it actually was the first band album to go platinum by a band in Canada, so that's pretty cool. Very, very nice album, I think. So now we move up to place number 5 is First Glance, which was the album after Forever For Now, and the first album to feature Brian Greenway in. So now we've got 3 lead guitarists. Brian Greenway also doing Right Down to It. Oh, that's it. I thought he did 2 songs. It looks like he only did 1. Maybe he does some lead vocals on one. This is the song that features Roller, which was the band's first really big song stateside, definitely known by a lot of Americans. Hot on the Wheels of Love is one of my all-time favorite ones, really cool hard rock song. Silver Dollar, really nice, different kind of heavy, gloomy atmosphere type of a song. Rock and Roll is a Vicious Game, about the hard life of rock and roll and how it takes its toll on some, like Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, etc., Elvis Presley, and so on. Coming right down on top of me is the kind of ballad on this one here. Really solid album. Pete Pardo of Sea of Tranquility picked this as his number 1. This is the original cover here. The one that probably Americans are more familiar with is the one that has the band photo on there. Publicity photo. But anyway, that is my pick for number 5. So number 4 is some people's number 1 pick. This is Harder Faster from 1979. I Like to Rock. Okay, it's a typical April Wine rock song, but it is one of their more popular ones. Say Hello has a nice different atmosphere, almost like introduction to the 80s on here, but you know, in a 1979 kind of way, so it's still pretty good. Tonight Is a Rocker, Ladies Man I think was a rocker. Before the Dawn is Brian Greenway's song, which is, as I said before, sounds more like something a new wave of British heavy metal band might have done. Babes in Arms is a rocker, Better Do Her Well is a rocker, and 21st Century Schizoid Man, the cover song on here, is superbly done. Really great album, actually. Just, yeah, again, some of the songs I would probably rate a 4, others I would rate a 5, maybe 1 or 2 I might rate a 3, but really good album. I was almost going to put this as my number 2, but I changed my mind. So, I mentioned Attitude. This one. Alright, couple of things to say about this album. The faults. This is April Wine getting back together again in 1992 and putting out an album in 1993, the first album as a band since 1984's Animal Grace. This is a 14-track album featuring 4 ballads, but basically only 2 of them are of a similar style. One is quite short and another one is of a different style. So there's enough variety on here. What is really curious about this album is that this is a killer hair metal album. Think about, I don't know, 1987, 1988. What's Cinderella doing? What's Poison doing? What's Great White doing? What's Winger doing? What's Warrant doing? That kind of style. If after Walking Through Fire, the record company said, hey, the album is actually selling quite well. Can you get the band back together again? And they got everyone except Gary Moffat. He didn't come in. They had to get a different guitarist. But everybody else came back in again for this one here. But if they had done that in 1987, and then dropped this in 1988. And then if the record company had said, this is really a chance for you guys to have your comeback album. Aerosmith did it with Permanent Vacation. Deep Purple did it with Perfect Strangers. This is your chance to get your big comeback album. And if they had promoted the hell out of it and picked one of the really good ballads on here and one of the really good melodic rockers on here, plus just one of the real attitude rockers on here, this album could have been big, and April Wine could have been launched like way up, bigger than they'd ever been before. Unfortunately, it didn't happen like that. What happened was this album was released in 1993, but sounds like it should have been released in 1988 or 89 at the latest. And it didn't really get so much promotion, and the band just moved on to record another different sounding album within a year. So aside from it sounding like it's released in the wrong year, the other thing is it's 14 tracks, which does make it a little bit long. I actually cut off a few of the tracks and just played, I think I picked 9 tracks. I could have added one more ballad on here to make it a 10-track album, and it sounded great. I mean, we've got a song like Here's Looking at You, Kid, has an Aerosmith Walk This Way kind of feel to it in places. We've got Given It, Taken It, the opening track. Is That Even April Wine? Totally sounds like a late 80s hair metal band. Even just the lyrics, you know, got your number off the bathroom wall. Yeah. It's really cool. I don't know. There was another song on here too, reminded me of like a mid-80s ZZ Top style thing, like Eliminator type, you know, groovy rocker. A lot of really cool, hard rockin' songs, great guitar sound, great production quality. The band is performing super well. So, the 2 big problems, maybe you could have taken 3 tracks off, maybe 4, and just made a really tight album, and then it also should have been released 4 years earlier. And then it should have just been given a ton of promotion. Rather, yeah. Opportunities missed, I'm telling you. But yeah, I really like that album. And, you know, it's tempting to just put all the classic albums ahead of the newer stuff. Newer, it's 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Anyway, it's tempting to put all the classic albums ahead of it. But, you know, I just really like the songs and the sound of this album. So, moving up, that was number 3. Wow, big surprise there, huh? You could scale it down just to, you know, give due to the classic albums, but hey, it's my list. Finally, number 2 here, The Nature of the Beast. As I said before, I could easily put this as number 1, depending on my mood. But anyway, I really like this album. This is just a great, 1981 hard rock album. You have All Over Town is just a really fun rock song. Sign of the Gypsy Queen, a cover song, but totally sounds like an original April Wine song. Just Between You and Me, probably their biggest ballad of all. Wanna Rock, just, yeah, exactly that. Caught in the Crossfire, an unusual science fiction story type song. Future Tense and Crash and Burn, very intense songs. Bad Boys, Big City Girls, just great hard rockers. And One More Time, a really fun album closer, which some people said they didn't like. But overall, just really solid, great album. Okay, and last, yeah, most people put this down maybe like 5th place or 10th place, somewhere in there, but Electric Jewels has just been my favorite for so long, and it's because of specific tracks. Of course, Weeping Willow is probably my favorite April Wine song. Just Like That is just a really cool rocker. The title track is really neat. It kind of stretches out into 3 different parts, which I like. You Open Up My Eyes is the one track I don't really care for, and sorry, Jim. This is also an unusual album because the songwriting and lead vocals, I don't know about the songwriting, but the lead vocals is split almost 50-50 between Jim Clench and Miles Goodwin, which is the only album where there is that much of a split between 2 people. Singing, I mean, you know. Oh, I don't know, like almost, this, like the final track, The Band Has Just Begun, is just a great rocking song. A couple of other ones here. Cat's Claw is really like intense, heavier type track with Jim singing. What is it? Come On Along is a song I really like, and I Can Hear You Calling. Those 2 songs actually have more of a, I don't know, more of a kind of, you know, proto-90s alternative rock feel to them. I don't know. So yeah, I think, oh, and Run Lady Run is the big ballad off here, which actually I don't really care for all that much either. So there are two songs on here I'm not really such a big fan of, but the rest of them, love it. Okay. It's gonna be a long video. So anyway, that is okay. Let's recap then. I think Pete Pardo always does this. My number one pick is Electric Jewels. My number two pick is The Nature of the Beast. My number three pick, in spite of the length and the bad timing, just the music is really cool. That's Attitude. Harder, Faster is a little bit short, but does have a great selection of songs. That was number four. Number five is First Glance, which again has a great selection of songs. Pete Pardo's number one. It would never be my number one, but certainly should be in the top five. Stand Back, again, great selection of songs. That's my number six. Whole World's Going Crazy, almost a great selection of songs all the way through, but lacking in a couple of places from my opinion. But anyway, that is what, number seven. Number eight, Power Play. Great songs, couple of ones that, yeah, anyway, bring it down to number seven. Number eight, On Record, with really quite a variety of music on here, but lots of really cool ones. Number nine, so number 10 is Back to the Mansion. Really great to hear a band at this stage in the game. Like 30, 80, 90, 2000, 30 years after the debut album, and still lots of really great songs. That's really cool. Number 11 was Animal Grace. Mostly really cool songs in my opinion. Just the production sounds like the guitars have been deadened a little bit. Where are we at here? That was number 11. So number 12, Walking Through Fire. Could be the last one on the list, but I think most of the songs actually do sound good. They just should have been done, maybe they would sound much better live by the April Wine Band rather than in studio with only 2 April Wine members and a lot of 1985 stinky soundiness to it. Let's see here then. I'm losing my count here. 14, 15. So this is number 13, April Wine's debut album. A couple of really 2-3 songs on here I really, really like. Couple ones that are also quite good. Number 14, Frigate. Had the potential to be a really good album, but does have some kind of puzzling things that, you know, just make you wonder, why did they do that? But still, lots of really cool tracks on there. Number 15, the Miles Goodwin solo album that got labeled as an April Wine album. Lots of really nice songs, just doesn't feel like an April Wine album. And number 16, Roughly Speaking, a lot of blues and very short album. Would have liked at least one full-length album afterwards to let us know where this actually fit in the band's catalog. Was it a detour? Was it a new direction? We'll never know. And that's it. Okay, super long video, but thank you all for watching, and see you around in a week or so for another video. Take care, everyone. Bye.